Hello, I'm Refashionista Sheri, and I am here to show you how to use what you have to make what you want. And if that sounds awesome, which of course it absolutely does, I highly recommend subscribing because I share new videos every single week and YouTube shorts every single day. So there's always something going on in my Refashionista world that I am sharing with you. Like today, for example, I'm going to show you how easy it is to upstyle and refashion stuff that you already have into things that you would love to wear to your fancy or not at all fancy holiday dinners, which of course are coming up very, very soon. And one of those things is we're going to take this pair of sweatpants that doesn't fit anybody in my house at all, and we're going to make them into an awesome shirt, believe it or not. I'm really going to try to make this one work. And you know what? Let's grab our scissors and get making. For this quick and easy project, all you need is a pair of oversized cozy sweatpants and some kind of trim or binding for the neckline of your soon-to-be top. So as you can see, the very first thing I have done here is to fold my sweatpants in half as evenly as I could get them, with the crotch and gusset area here pulled out. So it makes this kind of point shape here in the front. Then I'm just going to cut out a semicircle area from this crotch gusset area here, and that's going to become my head hole. Always remember to cut less than you think you'll need, because it's easier to have to cut more than it is to have to try to put fabric back on once you've cut it. When you open your sweatpants back up, you will have something that looks like this. And I think this is going to be more than big enough, but let's go try it on first just to make sure. La la! How cool is this? And it has pockets, because my sweatpants had pockets, but that doesn't look so great, right? With hands in pockets, but whatever. If you want to be done right now, you could be totally finished, because this is made of jersey fabric and it doesn't fray. So you can just chop out the crotch of your sweatpants and transform them into tops if you want to. I am going to bind up this edge here with some funky vintage trim just to finish it off and make it a little bit fancier. Also, if you wanted to, you could chop this part here and just cut out some little buttonholes and add some buttons and make like a little bolero cropped cardigan. Or if you're feeling very fancy, you could put a zipper here as well. And then you have like a little cropped hoodie type of thing. You could even add a hood. I mean, the possibilities are endless. But if you want to be done right now, you can totally be done, because it's not going to fray. So I decided to go with this lovely vintage border trim here. And first I am going to stitch the straight side to the inside of my almost done top. Then I'm just going to fold it around. So this is going to be on the front, and then I'm going to go stitch all of this together. And you can see here that my neckline is all bound up and looking very festive, I think. So as hilarious as this idea was, it actually did work, and I am very pleased with myself for giving this a try. If you ever have an idea in your head that you think, okay, that is just too wacky, think of this and remember, nothing is too wacky, just give it a try. So I have these rather insane vintage tree decorations, and I was thinking these would make some absolutely hilarious earrings, and so that's what I'm going to do. They already have a lovely loop there, so I just have a little jump ring and a little earring hook here, and I'm going to put those together, and then I'm going to fit that around, and then I'm going to grab my pliers and just close up that jump ring, and I have an earring. Now I'm going to do the other one, and then I'm going to go put them on. Hi, it's me again, just popping in to say it is always time for an awesome DIY gift for yourself or for others. And with that in mind, I highly encourage you to check out my DIY gifts that anyone can make e-course plus epically awesome ebook that's included with it. Everything is in there for everyone on your list or for yourself, so you can use what you have to make what they want and what you want. Best of all, it costs much less than a trip to the thrift shop, and you have lifetime access, so you can always refer back to it whenever you need a pick-me-up for yourself or somebody else. So link will be down below for that. And now, go make some holiday wear. So I just wanted to show you how short this crop sweater is, and it's like, I don't know, 2 centimeters-ish under the girls here, so it's definitely short. But if we take the poncho and add it here, how adorable is that going to be? So you have your sweater, you have your poncho, but the first thing you have to do, of course, is make sure that your poncho is actually going to fit over your body. And I'm putting mine over sweatpants, and I still have room here, but look at that. How cute is that going to be? And it's going to have a fringed, asymmetrical hem. Just adorable. Let's go put it together. So clearly, I don't have to do anything to the sweater. It is fine as it is, although, as I said, it would be nice if it was a little bit longer. But with the poncho, it does have a hood on it, so this has to be removed, so then I can just use this part as the skirt for my dress. This appears to be very vintage. I'm thinking at least the 80s old, maybe 70s, just from how these hems and seams are done here. But I always like to see if it is in fact possible to take this apart at the seam here, other than chopping through, and it looks like I just might be successful. So I'm going to continue doing this very, very slowly and carefully. I know sometimes people complain that I don't just seem to zip through, but this is vintage knit, and I don't want to cause any undue rips or tears or holes or anything. So I'll see you when it's all apart. So the hood is off, and it will now go in my stash to hopefully be used in a future project that is going to need a hood and be awesome. So you can see I have pinned my lovely vintage doily in place, and I think I have it pretty well centered, but it's not that big of a deal if it's not perfectly centered, because this is very stretchy, the doily's very stretchy, and I have a generous chest, so it all needs to stretch anyway. Okay, so here's my quick Refashionista tip for this video. Once you get down to like this much thread on your spool when you are using your machine, and you kind of know that, okay, this is going to run out really, really fast, then pop this into your hand sewing gear, because waste not, want not. And you can see I have lots of threads that are nearly empty. Because that's what I use for my hand sewing, and I bet you there's others like me out there too. So I want to know, do you do that? And I also want to know, how do you store your hand sewing gear? I just have mine in this little thrifted fabric box, and I've been using this for like over a decade now. I got another tip for you. When you are hand stitching something to the front of a garment, always grab a piece of cardboard or even a cutting board. You know, that actually works better, but I don't have a big enough cutting board here. So I'm just going to slip my cardboard behind. And now I don't have to worry as much about keeping the front separated from the back, because I know as soon as I put a stitch in, I can feel that I'm hitting the cardboard. And I'm not going to go through the cardboard. It's super thick. So let's get started stitching this. So I have my lovely vintage doily applique all hand stitched on, and it just looks gorgeous. So now let's attach the top to the skirt. So I went ahead and marked what I believe to be the center line here. Like, luckily this turtleneck is ribbed fabric, so there's these lovely lines. So I just kind of counted and found the center one. And then I'm going to line that up with the seam here on the poncho. And I think actually this side is the nicer side to have in the front. I don't know. This is the problem, right? Trying to find which side looks nicer. No, I think the other side. Okay. So as always, I have my top right side out, and then I'm going to flip this skirt part over top of it with the right sides facing. And once it's all lovely and shaken down, now you can see better what I mean about lining up the seams and the lines here. So luckily I put a pin here so I can very easily pop those together. Hello, Mr. Scally. And pop a pin in, just 1 second here. Pop a pin in there to hold them. And because both of these are very, very stretchy fabric, to get everything all nicely lined up, as I'm stitching, I'm just going to stretch it. And that's the easiest way to do it because they're both stretchy. So why not use the stretch to my advantage? Okay, now I'm simply going to go stitch this together first with a long straight stitch. Then I'm going to stitch over that with my tight wide zigzag so it still has the stretch needed to get it on and off my body. Alrighty, it is all stitched together, so let's flip it right side out. Okay, wow, that looks abso-freaking-lutely adorable, although I do think I'll have to put a belt on with it. I'm not sure. We shall see. But if I wanted this to lay a little bit flatter here, I could stitch in the ditch right here along the actual exterior seam, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to risk this getting all wavy and lettuce hemmy. So if there's anybody out there who has tips on sewing with knits on like a normal regular machine, no fancy sergers or anything like that, please do let me know down below because I'm always looking to improve my skills and I'm self-taught, so I can, you know, get some improvement here and there, of course. Anyway, let's go try this on and style it up. For this hopefully quick and easy project, all you need is your cool little tablecloth and a shirt that fits you comfortably and loosely to use as a template. Oh, and of course, your sewing gear. Okay, so the very, very first thing we need to do is find the center of this tablecloth because that's where our neckline area is going to be. So you can see here, I have folded it in half with the right sides facing and all the edges here as evenly lined up as possible. Now, because this is vintage and clearly handmade, it's not 100% perfect, but you know what? It's good enough and nothing needs to be perfect. And why is that? Because perfection is the enemy of good enough, right? Okay, then we're gonna fold it in half again, shake it down, go make it all nice and smooth. And you see this folded corner edge here that has the double fold on it? This should be pretty much the exact center of this tablecloth. So I'm just going to pop a pin in it. There we go. And when I open it up, yes, that looks, whoops, pretty centered to me. Alrighty, so now we've figured out the center. I have grabbed my comfy wide shirt, which clearly, of course, this one is also very, very vintage, and it is part of a very cool set as well. Anyway, so I have my shirt inside out and pretty evenly folded in half as well. So I'm going to line up my folded collar with my pin there. So I have that pretty darn centered, and then I'm simply going to grab another pin and pop it right where my underarm seam falls. So I'm using this underarm seam as the template to create this underarm seam. Okay, so because I'm not exactly sure how this fabric is going to react when I cut it, because it is vintage velvet, so you truly never know if it's going to fall apart, fray, or absolutely nothing's going to happen because it'll end up being a non-fraying fabric. Who knows? Anyway, so I popped into my lovely little sewing drawer and grabbed this vintage marking chalk stone, and you guys remember these? I mean, I remember my grandma and my great aunts having loads of these, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but let's just mark on here and see if it's gonna work. Oh, it's working, it's working. I've simply marked out my path that I am going to go and stitch now before I chop out this piece of fabric, because like I said, I don't know what's gonna happen. Okay, it is all stitched, and I don't know if you can see this, but I did a super tight straight stitch, and then I did a zigzag over the top of it, and that really does just help to prevent fraying, you know, if you don't have a fancy serger sewing machine like me. So now let's chop this out and see what the result is going to be. And it appears that we have a lovely sleeve and side seam, and best of all, this fabric does not appear to be fraying at all, which is absolutely fantabulous. So now we have to fold this in half so we can use this side as the template to create our other sleeve on the other side. Alrighty, so I have it all folded over. I grabbed my vintage marking chalk stone thingy here, and you can see I have already marked out the area to stitch. If you don't want to do the fold over template technique, you can simply grab one of your chopped pieces and just use that, right? I mean, it's the exact same thing, basically. Okay, so just be sure if you're doing this technique to give yourself that little bit of seam allowance, because this is the chopped piece. So it is just that little bit smaller than if you were to simply fold it over like that. But as we're talking about the chopped pieces, if you're making this along with me, keep these handy, because we're going to use these to create what I hope is going to be an absolutely amazing collar for our shirt. So that is coming up very soon. Et voila, we now have both sides done, and this absolutely looks like a t-shirt shape, which is exactly what I was going for. So it is still folded in half, right sides are facing, inside out, all that good stuff. And now I'm going to just chop a gentle semicircle out of this corner here, and, you know, just chop off this little triangle so I can get started on my neckline area. And again, it's always better to chop less than you think you'll need, because it's easier to chop more than to try to put fabric back on. That totally wasn't enough, so I'm going to go in and chop off some more. Okay, that looks much better, and now I'm going to go try it on just to make sure that it is going to fit nicely over my head. And the neckline is pretty darn perfect, and how adorable is this coming out? That is so cute. And it's cropped, but with the fringe, it's, you know, a little more dramatically cropped, I think. Anyway, remember those pieces that were chopped from here? Right, so what I'm going to try to do with these is create some kind of interesting collar situation here, like maybe a bib collar. If you go like that, that's almost like a sailor shirt, right? But like reversed, because that I guess would be in the back. But I could stitch all these together and make a big square collar, or maybe try to do like an asymmetrical. Oh yes, I think that's what we're gonna do. How cool does that look? Let's go do it. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm gonna have to do is stitch each of these two pieces together. So then instead of having 4 pieces, I will have 2 pieces, which I can then arrange and stitch around the collar area. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pop them with right sides facing, of course, and stitch the 2 shortest raw edges together. Okay, I have both of my collar pieces securely stitched together, and I did go ahead and do the straight stitch, zigzag, and then I used my pinking shears to chop off the little bit of excess fabric there. Okay, so now I have to figure out how I'm going to stitch them on so it looks, you know, cool. And I was thinking, like, just to do something like that, fold that over around to the back, and then the same on this side, and then these corners would kind of meet in the middle of the collar, and then it would be, you know, like a very vintage yet modernly cool Santa-esque top. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But now I have to figure out how to stitch everything together so I can fold it down nicely, almost like a turtleneck, and then have this edge not look horrible. So I'm going to go figure that out, and then I'll come back and show you what I'm going to do. Okay, I think I cracked the code on how I'm going to stitch this together successfully. You simply have your shirt inside out and your collar piece with the right side down. So we have the wrong side of the shirt facing the right side of the collar piece. And then I'm just going to line that up, and look at how nearly perfectly the shoulder area lines up with this center seam here. That is just fantastic. I mean, I couldn't have planned it better, but I didn't plan this. This is just all fluky and I guess refashionista luck. So I'm going to go ahead now and stitch on this first piece, and then we're going to check it and see if it actually worked, and then hopefully it will, and we can do the second piece. Okay, so I have the shirt right side out now, so I'm going to flip my collar out of the neckline and see if it actually was successful. And you know what, it really looks like it was. Surprisingly, of course it doesn't look great because I still have to get the other side on, but wow, I think that actually is going to work perfectly. So I'm going to flip this inside out again and attach this side of the collar, and then yeah, let's go see what happens. Okay, so I just had a thought here that maybe let's show how I'm going to put this together, because it might be a bit confusing. I don't know. My brain is confusing sometimes. So, all right. So you see here where I started this first piece of collar. Well, now I'm going to take the second piece and literally put it right on top of that one. So when it folds down, I'm actually going to have two layers, which I think is going to be a lot better than trying to line it up exactly here and stitch it all on. I think it's going to be easier if I just gently put one underneath the other one, just this little corner piece here. It should be fine in the end. I'm hoping. We'll see. We'll see in a minute. Okay, it is all stitched on and looking absolutely fabulous, I might add. I am shocked that once again, a silly idea of mine worked, but I did have to go ahead and top stitch all the way around this folded down edge, just because it just wasn't sitting right. It kept kind of popping up and everything, but that was very simple to do. And once again, how easy was that to make? For myself, I think my favorite of this one has to be the sweatpants top, because it's cozy, it's comfortable, and you can wear it well beyond the holidays, of course, because it's just so awesome. And it's very stretchy, so whatever you are filling your belly with for your holiday meal is, you know, you don't gotta unzip pants or anything, because you're already wearing a loose goose, easy breezy top that you made out of sweatpants. If you love what I do, please do join this channel, join my rockin' Refashionista crew behind the scenes, and of course, one of the awesome perks you get is getting your special thank you and kiss at the end of all of my videos, and so much more is over there. Click join. Check everything out, and I hope to see you behind the scenes. And if you're on the fence about whether or not you should or shouldn't, here's exactly why you should. For just 99 cents a month, you can help save a struggling refashionista. For just 99 cents a month, you can help sustain the much-needed work that goes on behind the scenes. Every thrift flip, every DIY, every upcycle, every free tutorial can only continue with your support. Join my Refashionista crew for only 99 cents a month, less than the cost of 2 bananas or a pack of gum, and help me continue teaching anyone who wants to learn how to use what they have to make what they want. Don't let affordable, sustainable DIY style become an endangered species. Join my Refashionista crew today.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.